For the past 5 years, I have listened to my dad give dozens of talks on counter human trafficking, and I've been horrified by some of the stories that I've heard. Given my exposure to this issue for the past couple of years, I've discovered the importance of informing others and inspiring them to get involved. Close your eyes and think back to when you were 16 years old. You're probably thinking about spending time with friends and family, going to school, and maybe even getting your first job. For most of us, this was a very happy, carefree time in our lives. But this is not the same for everyone. Let me introduce you to a young man from Cambodia named Tith. Tith became a victim of human trafficking at the age of 16. He left Cambodia in order to get a job in Thailand, where he was promised work on a fishing boat. They told him that the work would be easy and that they would pay him a large sum of money, $600 a year. He spent the next 4 years of his life working on that boat for 19 hours a day, 7 days a week. He slept in a single small cabin with 14 other slaves. They ate 2 small meals a day of fish and rice. If you got sick, you were thrown off the boat. If you complained, you were thrown off the boat. If the captain didn't like you, you were thrown off the boat. 4 grueling years later, he was taken back to the docks, and when he finally asked for his money, the captain told him, "You're Cambodian. You are in Thailand illegally. I don't have to pay you. I can call the police and have you deported back to Cambodia." Tith, now 20 years old, had attempted to return to his family, but they had not heard from him, had assumed he was dead, and moved away. Tith was a slave. Now, when people think about modern-day human trafficking, what do you think pops into mind? The first thing that usually pops into mind is the sex industry. But there are many other forms of forced labor which are seldom discussed, and that is why I chose to talk about them today. According to the United Nations, this is a list of all of the countries in the world that are not associated with slavery in any way. Don't you wish your country was up there? According to the United Nations, there are 21 million slaves in the world. That is 21,000 men, women, and children. To put this number into perspective, if you were to put all of these people onto ships the size of the Titanic, you would need 10,000 of these ships. The number of these people associated with the fishing industry is currently unknown, but it is clear that this affects the lives of the victims as well as their families. So why do people recruit and use slaves? It's simple. Money. Slavery is a huge industry with only a small amount of money being used to fight it. To put this into perspective, this is the amount of money spent annually to combat human trafficking. $350 million. This is the annual worldwide profit from human trafficking. $32 billion. You can see why this issue is so hard to tackle. This is an important issue. We need to raise awareness. We need to talk about this. We need to work together to solve this issue through direct response. We need to stand up and make this issue go away, because it will stay with us until we do. So what is being done to bring this to an end? There are many organizations around the world working to combat human trafficking, such as the United Nations, non-government organizations, and governments. But as they keep forging ahead, for every step they take, the traffickers seem to be gaining ground on them and causing them several major issues. For example, the countries that have these fishing vessels don't always want to address it out of fear of it harming their economy. One recently proposed idea is to seek help from neighboring countries in order to increase inspections and enforce stricter control over these boats. We need to advocate for international labor laws and use them as a means to address and fight this nightmare. So how would this work? These neighboring countries would identify the boats breaking the labor laws and confiscate them. If the boats were found to be using slave labor, they would not be given back. So, in order to prevent losing a $500,000 boat simply to save a couple $1,000s, the boat owners would think twice about using slaves. So, whose problem is this? It's the slave's problem. It's the country's problem. It's my problem. And it's your problem. because we are all a single species of human, and we all have to work together to make sure that no person is treated like this, that no person has to suffer like the 21 million suffering right now. So what can we do while these organizations do their job? I mentioned the huge discrepancy in funds earlier that puts the anti-trafficking groups at a major disadvantage. Should we simply throw money at the issue and hope it gets better? Of course not. We need to build momentum and raise awareness. Funding is just a minor part of the solution to this incredible problem. Here are 2 easy things that you can do to help. First, go to this website and others like it. This will give you a list of all of the products known to be associated with slavery. Don't buy them. And consider switching to a brand that pays their workers a fair wage. If a company uses slave labor, send them a letter of concern, urging them to stop. Second, do exactly what you are doing right now. You are listening to me. You are educating yourselves. Education is the greatest key to fixing an issue. When you go home tonight, learn more about the topic. Spend 10, 20, 30 minutes surfing the internet for information, and maybe it will inspire you to help. Share this with family, friends, colleagues. The more we spread the word, the more attention this travesty against mankind will get. The more people who know, the less who don't. I have grown up in a world where slavery exists. And I hope that someday, when I have kids, they will be able to live in a world free from slavery, thanks to the work that the anti-trafficking community is doing now with your help. Thank you.